Production funding for Ruckus has been provided by gifts from Dave and Jamie Cummings, the Hartwig family, Hush Blackwell, Barbara and Peter Gattermeyer, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to Ruckus, where we fight tooth and nail and sometimes tongue-in-cheek over the news of the day and the trends of the times. I'm Mike Shannon. The Ruckettes join me shortly, and our topics this week: the Jazz Museum singing the blues, the Plaza tax bill strikes a sour note, and a columnist sees chaos hitting the right key for KCI voters. Plus, of course, roast and toast. But we start with our Newsmaker segment and spend a few minutes with Missouri Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft. Mr. Ashcroft took office in January after winning last year's election. Before his bid for elective office, he worked in engineering management and practiced law. With Election Day coming up November the 7th, we'll talk with the Secretary about the law requiring voters to show ID at the polls before voting. We are pleased indeed to welcome Jay Ashcroft to Ruckus. Mr. Secretary, thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
So you are responsible for implementing this new voter ID law, which passed as a constitutional amendment with about 64% of the voters saying yes last November. Do you expect difficulty in implementing it?
No, not at all. It's a privilege, actually, to implement this law. We've had about 60 elections across the state since it went into effect on June 1st.
And there's been no problem, has there?
We haven't had any problems. And a little known fact about the law, this is the first time, at least in my lifetime, that we could say as a state that if you're registered, you can vote. We've had more than a handful of people already that under the old law would have been turned away, but because of this law, they were allowed to vote. Their vote counted and their voice was heard, and that's exactly the way it should be.
Well, you certainly know better than anyone else. We have a big election coming up on November the 7th. It's big in Kansas City because the airport's on the ballot, the idea of switching to a one-terminal KCI. We expect there will be a number of people going to the polls for the first time since this voter ID law went into effect, and we've got some visuals we'll put on the screen of some of the things that are acceptable. But can you tell us what you have to be able to vote legally?
Yeah, the first thing I would say is if you're registered to vote, you go to your polling place on Election Day, you will be able to vote. You'll be asked to show that current Missouri driver's license, Missouri non-driver's license, that military ID or passport. But if you don't have one of those four, any of the other forms of identification you've been allowed to vote with previously, you'll be allowed to use. You'll just be given some extra information about what the law is, and you'll have to sign a statement verifying that you don't currently have that Missouri driver's license, Missouri non-driver's license, military ID, or passport. But what the important thing people should know is if they're registered to vote, they'll be able to vote.
What is a non-driver's license?
There are individuals in Missouri that want to have that government-issued photo ID, but they don't drive. Or maybe one of the benefits of it is that once you're 70 years old, that non-driver's license never expires, as opposed to Missouri driver's license, which always have an expiration date. It's just another form of identification you can get from your driver's license office, the fee office, the same way you'd get a driver's license, but obviously you don't have to do the visual acuity test or the driving test.
Voter ID is a Republican initiative, and Democrats say it's an effort to suppress minority and poor people's vote because they tend to vote Democratic. How do you respond to that?
Well, it's reported as a Republican initiative, but actually when you really look at how the idea of voter identification and requiring a photo ID in the United States started, it was because of the Baker-Carter Commission, which was President Jimmy Carter and James Baker. President Carter was not exactly a right-wing
former Secretary of State.
Baker, right, and then the president. It's a simple, common-sense way to make sure that we know who's voting and that they're only voting once. If this were really about disenfranchisement, we wouldn't be giving out free IDs, and we wouldn't be making sure that people could vote even if they didn't have that
but
ID.
Mr. Secretary, people say there is no evidence of any vote fraud.
Well, people say a lot of things, but I mean, especially here in the Kansas City area, somewhat recently we had a legislative race that was changed by vote fraud. We had an individual that won the race by one vote, and subsequently, after that election, 2 members of that individual's family pled guilty. They weren't just found guilty, they said, yes, we illegally voted in that election, and that individual was seated in the legislature making the laws that the people of the state have to follow because of fraud.
Is there litigation pending challenging this new voter ID?
You know, there was a lawsuit that was filed a couple months ago, but the funny thing is that as time has gone on, the people that have filed the lawsuit keep removing claims that they made against the law. They've sued on various different things, and they keep saying, you know what, we don't need to sue on that, we can't sue on that. We expect that before long the court will look at this with the understanding that every registered voter can vote under this law, that ballot access has been expanded, and that we'll win in the court of law.
It should go without saying, but I'll say it anyway. You're the son of a Missouri political legend, John Ashcroft, former governor, former U.S. senator, former attorney general in the Bush 43 administration. How's your dad? What's he doing?
He's doing really well. He's back living on his farm just north of Springfield, Missouri, that he bought 50 some odd years ago, and I have the great pleasure of calling him every time there's a Cardinal game, a Royal game. Well, not that Chiefs game last Thursday. That wasn't a pleasure, but it's great. He's doing well. Well,
it's great to see you. Thank you very much for coming in, and we'll look forward to the results of the November 7th election and the implementation of voter ID.
Thanks for having me.
All right, that is Missouri's Secretary of State, Jay Ashcroft. Now, let's meet the panel and start a ruckus. Toohey is the Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute, a free market think tank. Gwen Grant is President and CEO of the Urban League in Kansas City. Patrick McInerney is a former prosecutor, now in private legal practice at Spencer Fane. And Crosby Kemper III is the Director of the Kansas City Library System and the host of KCPT's Meet the Past and Centropolis programs. Good to see all of you once again. Thank you very much for joining me today. Have a lot to talk about. We'll start with this one. It is an issue fraught with complexity, but we'll try to make it simplified for our discussion. Owners of the Country Club Plaza are paying much lower taxes than the value of the property suggests. Last year, the plaza sold for $660 million. For tax purposes, Jackson County assessed those properties at $375 million. A subsequent legal procedure led to the final valuation of $145 million, meaning the plaza will pay about $3 million less than expected. Fortuitously, one of today's panelists was quoted in the news account of this story, calling upon his usual eloquence. Mr. Kemper told the Star, "The average Kansas City taxpayer is getting screwed." So, Crosby, could you elaborate for us?
Yes. The average Kansas City taxpayer is getting screwed. Look, this has been going on for years and years and years. It's a political process. We've gone through 3 reorganizations in my time at the library, my 13 years at the library, of the assessment department, and we've never gotten beyond the stage of this being politicized and always benefiting the larger commercial taxpayers. We've shifted the burden from commercial taxpayers to residential taxpayers. The billionaires like the Taubmans that own the plaza get a break, and which causes everybody else to pay more. Everybody else in Kansas
that's
City
the
pays
significant
more.
point, is it not? Yep.
And then the school district, which is held harmless under Hancock, the library doesn't benefit from this one way or the other, but the school district is screwed by about $2.5 million. And so, yeah, I do use that word, and I use it because I think we need to be direct about this. I think Frank White needs to do something about it. I think the civic community needs to do something about it. We allow the entire commercial property world to be corrupted with TIF, tax abatement, and assessment. And it's wrong, and it's basic fairness.
Patrick, this was done within the legal guidelines, apparently. Do you understand what happened, how it became a lower assessment?
Well, I do. There was a challenge that was mounted by lawyers for the plaza.
I mean, this was just not a frivolous...
Mike White, the former county executive.
It was not a frivolous move by the county, right?
No, not at all. And this was the process. The process was set out and designed to do that. But the real question is, where's Jackson County on this? I mean, where is some sort of response even? Forget about leadership. What about response from Frank White? I mean, we haven't heard anything about that. And the fact of the matter is, this impacts moderate income, working class homeowners harder than it does anybody else. And there's nobody talking about them.
Or a small business owner.
You mentioned Frank White. He is scheduled to be my guest next Thursday on Ruckus. So if he shows up as scheduled, I'll ask him about these
when you get
questions.
done talking about the jail.
Please talk
when you get
about
done
the
talking
jail.
about, yeah,
I will.
Please talk about the jail. Talk about this situation and demand answers.
There are several
Accountability is
issues that will be
important here.
interesting to discuss
This problem
with Mr.
can
White.
be solved with one simple thing. We should do it the way Johnson County does. You don't have these problems in Johnson County. It's computerized. It's based on comparable sales in recent history. They just sold the Lockton building for $76 million. So instead of the Skelly building, which is based on a long ago assessment, you have the Lockton building and you get it right.
How about the Show Me Institute? Is it going to come forth with an idea, a solution for this?
Well, we've written about this for years, and the way in which, and it's not just Kansas City, St. Louis has the same problem with drive-by assessments, and Patrick is exactly right. Moderate and low-income people are being hurt by this because they are expected to make up the loss. And sadly, as Crosby said, with TIF and economic development, this is the way Kansas City does business. They tax the poor in order to give baubles to the rich.
Gwen, what's your reaction to all of this?
I concur with Crosby. I agree with Crosby.
love it when that
That's a
happens.
rare, occurrence. But I do agree with Crosby, and it's really unfortunate the impact that is having on the Kansas City public school system when the school system is trying to rebuild, and they've got schools, they've got lots of infrastructure issues, capital needs, and the plaza, they're losing $2.5 million that could be invested in rebuilding their schools and bringing the technology, the resources, and quality teaching that they need for urban students.
Have any of you seen any evidence of public outrage over this story?
I think it's hard to understand. I think the
No, it is hard to
basics of it are tough to get.
Yeah.
But I think if we translate it to what Gwen said and to what we've all said, that is that it is moderate income, lower income homeowners who are really taking it hard, then I think that resonates.
A few years
That's
ago,
the truth.
and Mike Hendricks wrote about this before at the Star. A few years ago, when people saw their home property values or property assessments go up by 33%, that's what gets them outraged. But I think Patrick's right. The larger story about corporate property tax is tougher to tell.
We need
And
somebody
there's
to
one
run for
other-
mayor on the
there's-
platform
but
of a fair tax
The
system.
other thing to talk to Frank White about truly is what is wrong at Jackson County in the assessment division. There have been years and years of problems with the assessment division just totally screwing up the assessments for real estate, for home and commercial real estate. Something's got to be
The
done.
last
As I
assessor
mentioned-
lost his job over the
Yeah.
residential real estate.
Right.
As I mentioned, he's scheduled to be here next Thursday. At the
We'll even cede some of our time, Mike, if you need some more.
That's not your decision, however. The producers will take care of it, I'm sure. Anyway, we'll look forward to a long and frank discussion with County Executive Frank White next week. When you hear jazz, you realize the musicians are improvising. When you hear the 18th and Vine Jazz Museum's budget being discussed, you might believe it's being improvised as well. Because of serious financial problems, some on the City Council are calling for a takeover of the museum, putting it under the city's Parks Department. Council just okayed an emergency payment of $225,000 to help the museum meet its payroll. The museum has already spent the $500,000 previously allocated by the city. Financial problems have existed since the opening of the museum 2 decades ago. So it comes to this question: is the Jazz Museum worth saving, and can City Hall save it? And we start with Patrick Toohey.
I can't imagine the enterprise that gets better when you hand it to the Parks Department. I don't see how this works, how this is going to solve a problem. The fact is, people in Kansas City just aren't that into jazz. I think what we need to do is take the exhibits we've got there, ship them off for a time being to Memphis or St. Louis, or forgive me, Louisiana, or maybe even the African American History Museum in Washington, D.C., which is very successful until we get our house together. But otherwise, we are throwing good money after bad.
All right, same question to the other Patrick on the panel, Mr. McInerney.
Equal time for Patrick.
Yes. Is this worth saving, and can City Hall save it?
Of course it's worth saving. I mean, it's a cornerstone of the city's heritage. It's a cornerstone of the heritage of many communities. But Jermaine Reed is right. There needs to be more accountability. And the way it's working right now is it's not working. So what needs to happen is there ought to be city involvement, city accountability in the operations of the museum, because if it's going to be saved, then it has to be transparent and there has to be individual accountability.
Well, part of the problem was a big jazz event last spring that cost a lot of money, and the weather was horrible during the time of the event, and the crowd was very small, and as a result, some of the musicians weren't paid on time or paid at all until the city got involved, so that's not something that can be easily tolerated.
Well, no, you know, I think that was an overambitious project, considering that the museum was not sitting in a strong financial position when it entered into that process. I agree with Patrick that the city should take over, and I think the best move would be to put it with the Parks and Recreation Department. They have the Bruce Watkins Cultural Heritage Center. You know, so this is an important aspect of our community. It is an asset that needs some help. You can't raise money though when you're not.
I remember interviewing the first director of the museum 20 years ago, and she said this will be self-supporting within a decade.
The question we need to ask ourselves is why are we taking money from poor and working Kansas Cityans in the form of the earnings tax and taking that money and then giving it to the Jazz Museum? It is an absolute waste. It may be all sorts of value, but not to the people of Kansas City.
You're right, but the answer is not to trash it.
It's not to trash it.
It's to increase accountability and hopefully...
The people that brought us the airport, you want to give them a museum and say increase the accountability?
One of the articles
professional operation and management there.
The fact of the matter is that the museum did improve in its ability to, you know, I think when it initially started, there was about $2 or $3 million annually that had to be invested, and it's down to like now $500,000. So they did do some things from the operating subsidy. So they are.
If I could just get a question in here, one of the articles in the Star brought up a point that I think is relevant, and I have suggested for a long time. Even though 18th and Vine is a relatively safe area, historically it is not, and jazz fans 60 and over don't feel comfortable living out in Johnson County and coming into 18th and Vine. Do you see some merit in that argument?
I think there's a lot of truth to that, and I think there are a lot of ways to deal with that. I think the big problem is that there is no civic engagement around this. The boards have always been very weak at all the 18th and Vine
and management down there is diverse, is it not? I mean, you've got a manager for this, manager for that.
You know, and it was one big deal that it was then Mayor Cleaver, actually originally City Councilman Cleaver's idea.
Yes.
It's a good idea.
Yep.
Jazz is a part of our international heritage, the one thing that is a tourist attraction about Kansas City. But it's been managed very badly, and there's been no civic will to do it. And I have to say this, somebody needs to say this. I'm very critical of the white political establishment, the white civic establishment in this community. This is the place where the African American, Gwen, I'm ready for your rebuttal. The African American civic establishment should be active and should be doing something about this, and I don't see it happening.
Equal opportunity critic.
Amen.
Quick answer?
Well, yeah, I don't know that that's totally true. I think you do have African American civic leaders who are involved with the 18th and Vine district, but it is something that, as a community asset, it requires equity in the process, equity and equality in the process, and that means it's a challenge for the entire city. And we need to address the race problem. The fact of the matter is that you can go a few blocks down the street at Crossroads, and it's booming with people who will not pass truce to come up to 18th and Vine for First Fridays. Yeah. If you don't come and put money into the district, it's hard for the jazz. No, I'm talking about consumers putting money into the district.
If you had trolleys or buses that would meet at centralized locations where people could park in Kansas City and get driven down there.
The audience for jazz at 18th and Vine is mostly white. Where are the black people at 18th and Vine?
Well, I've raised that very issue as well. I think, you know, we talk about jazz being the heritage in Kansas City, but when you have these programs, there's not a lot of interest in folks going out for jazz entertainment.
It seems like
overall.
18th and Vine is attracting tourists, but not local residents very often. He may already be a member, but if he is not, Star columnist Steve Kraske might want to join the Optimist Club. Discussing the chances of a yes vote victory for a one-terminal airport, Steve writes, a process marred by misstep after misstep just might result in a come-from-behind November 7th election win. Insiders would view that as something of a miracle. So do you think this miracle is likely to occur? In other words, Gwen, do you believe voters are going to say yes to the new one-terminal KCI?
I think so. I think, you know, based on the current activity, there's no organized opposition to the KCI terminal. There's a lot of public, propaganda going out, a lot of political information being, a lot of mailers. Everything is on the positive side. The polling has gone up significantly, but I think that in spite of a lot of concerns, because there is no organized opposition, I think it'll win, and just based on political science.
Well, let me ask you this: why do you think then Steve Kraske, who wrote that article I quoted, and who is a big fan of a new airport, would think it's a miracle if it wins?
Well, because of all of the, the way it was mishandled, a lot of the skepticism about the selection process, the fact that the money is not going to be, there's not going to be a hometown developer working on the project is of concern. There are concerns around the minority participation in the project. Is it equitable? There's concern about
it's all a mess.
It is, and so but it's a mess.
No bid contract.
Right. Those things are all challenges, but in a political process like this, when there is no organized opposition, and the only message that is resonating, whether you like Mayor James' commercials or not, or that's what is going to probably tip.
This is going to require confidence in City Hall. And that may have been shaken a little bit by the report today, Thursday, that City Manager Troy Schulte is upset by the council talking about restricting his ability to spend without council approval. And he said something to the effect of, if they don't like it, they can fire me. I'll be better off. I'll make more money and I can sleep later.
Yeah, great statement on his part. Of course, the city doesn't deserve, will probably win this election. It doesn't deserve to, because it's lied about the airport over and over again. Nobody, the Star, the city council, nobody, certainly not the airport committee, has done any analysis of anything. And of course, they sent the mayor and Jolie Justice and Troy Schulte, the city manager, off to the River Club to do the $1 billion no bid contract. And these are the people we're going to hand this deal over to. I'm probably going to vote for it. I hate the fact that I'm going to vote for it, because they do not deserve to win this election. They've lied, and as I say, they haven't analyzed anything. We're going to go down from, we talk about more direct flights. We already have 61 direct flights compared to Indianapolis, which has 46, the other most comparable city. And we're actually going to make it more expensive to have direct flights, dramatically more expensive. And so are we going to have more direct flights?
No. There's no guarantee that we're going to have more direct flights. The airlines say you can't have more direct flights if you don't have a new airport, but if you do have a new airport, we can't guarantee it.
But the important thing about guarantees is that we'll have an election on November 7th. We still do not have a memorandum of understanding in place with the City Council. So we have no guarantees as an electorate.
And Southwest is backed off that.
And Patrick, you've been an opponent, a critic of this since it was first discussed, and it was first discussed 3 or 4 years ago.
Right. It has been a mess. It has been a mess since day one. It's an embarrassment, and frankly, my disappointment now is in the Star and other people who are playing the enabler to City Hall. This deserves to lose, as Crosby said, because it's been an awful process. The Star has editorialized in the awful process and then says, well, let's give them a pass. And that is absolutely not what this city council is.
You're going to cast a no vote?
But the pushback on this is, we need an airport.
We got to wrap this up.
Patrick, you're making the perfect enemy.
15 seconds, please.
15 seconds. You're making the perfect enemy of the good here. It's been a messy process.
It's been a contempt for democracy is what it's been.
I don't know if I'd go like that, but it's been a messy process. It's been ham-handed. At the end of the day, it rises and falls on the merits of a new airport, and there's no question that this city has to have a new
We don't know the merits.
And that's what the voters are going to vote on. They're going to vote for an airport because we need it. They're not going to pay attention to all this other stuff.
All right. And now we head to the soapbox for Roast and Toast, where the Rockettes have 30 seconds each to support or distort people and events in the news, and we start with Patrick Tuohy.
I am happy to toast today Show Me KC Schools, a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping parents understand their school choice in Kansas City, whether it's traditional, public, charter, or private schools. They have just received a large infusion of cash, which will help them reach out to more parents. So congratulations to Show Me KC Schools.
Crosby.
So a roast of Frank White, leaving room for a future toast. Frank, the ball rolled through your legs. on this play with the plaza tax. You have an opportunity to reorganize assessment and do it the right way, do it the way they do it in Johnson County and pretty much everywhere else. There are adults running the show. You're a clutch hitter. Do this one.
All right, Gwen.
So I'm going to toast the life of the late Laura Hockaday, who passed away yesterday. Laura was a dear friend of the Urban League and the Kansas City community. When she took her position at the Star, she said that she would take it only under the condition that she would be able to take pictures of black people, brown people, white people, to display the beautiful mosaic of this community on the pages of the Kansas City Star Society page. Laura will be missed.
All right, and Patrick.
Believe it or not, I'm going to toast the Jackson County Legislature today because in the absence of executive leadership, the legislature has stepped up now once on the jail and now twice on internal process at the courthouse to try to take the reins of the county and move forward. They've hired some staff. They've done it with the right intentions. They have tried to fill the gap that exists in the executive office right now, and I think that they're doing the hard work of this county, and they deserve to be toasted.
And finally, college students are being warned to avoid cultural appropriation when planning their Halloween costumes. Cultural appropriation is defined as taking intellectual and cultural expressions from a culture that is not your own without showing that you understand or respect the culture. Students are told they should avoid wearing any costume that would offend ethnic or racial groups, and I would suggest avoid any Pocahontas costume to avoid offending Senator Elizabeth Warren. Oh, yes. And that is Ruckus for this week. We're back next Thursday at 7. Now for the Ruckettes and the crew, Mike Shannon saying thanks for watching and good night.
Production funding for Ruckus has been provided by gifts from Dave and Jamie Cummings, the Hartwig family, Hush Blackwell, Barbara and Peter Gattermeyer, and by viewers like you. Thank you.